And as usual, we have all gathered here today to listen to another exposition of the Lord Buddha's Dhamma, his teaching, the path that has been laid out for all sentient beings to free themselves from the endless trap of suffering. Before we step forward today, another step forward on this path, let us take a moment to remind ourselves how extremely fortunate we are to be his students, to be his disciples, to be followers of the great Master, the magnificent one, the ultimately victorious one, the infinitely compassionate one, the most merciful one, the perfect one. Let us be upstanding to recite the stanzas that were once uttered by a householder by the name of Pali, when he was questioned who his teacher was, and in response, this was the answer that he gave. Dhirassa vigata mohassa abhinnakhilassa vijita vijayassa anighassa susamachitassa buddhasilassa sadhupanyassa vesantarassa vimalassa bhagavato tassa savako hamasmi akatankathissa tusitassa vantalokamissassa muditassa kata samanassa manujassa antima sarirassa narassa anupamassa virajassa bhagavato tassa savako hamasmi asansayassa kulassa venaikassa sarati varassa anuttarassa ruchira dhammassa nikhankassa abhasakarassa manachidassa virassa bhagavato tassa savako hamasmi nisabhassa apameyassa gambhirassa munapatassa khemankarassa vedassa dhammattassa samvutattassa sangatigassa muttassa bhagavato tassa savako hamasmi nagassa pantasenassa khina sanyojanassa muttassa patimantakassa dhonassa pannadhajassa vitaragassa dantassa nippapanchassa bhagavato tassa savako hamasmi isi sattamassa akuhassa tevijjassa brahmapattassa nahatakassa padakassa passadhassa viditavedassa purindadassa sakkassa bhagavato tassa savako hamasmi ariyassa bhavitattassa Pattipattassa Veyakaranassa Satimato Vipassissa Anabhinatassa Noapanatassa Anejassa Vasipattassa Bhagavato Tassa Savako Hamasmi Aryassa Bhavitattassa Pattipatassa Veyakaranassa Satimato Vipassissa Anabhinatassa Noapanatassa Anejassa Vasipattassa Bhagavato Tassa Savako Hamasmi Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. And now to seek refuge in the Noble Triple Gem and observe the precepts. Please repeat all together and after me. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Saranaгаmanang sampunnam. Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adinnadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu miccācara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Surameraya majjapama datthana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Tisaranena saddhing panchasilang dhammang sadhukang surakkhitam katva apamadena sampadeta. You may now be seated. Before we continue with today's proceedings, let us take a moment to invite all the countless beings in this 10,000 world systems within earshot of this sermon, wherever they may be, whoever they may be, whatever they may be. May they all join us and witness this meritorious deed as it unfolds. As among them may be those who are lacking in merit and therefore unable to access the path to fulfillment, the path to liberation, the path to realization. May they witness this meritorious deed and rejoice in these merits and may such merits help them to achieve that. Also among them may be those who have been born in the woeful plains, looking for an opportunity for escape. May they rejoice in these merits and be able to free themselves from such woeful plains. And also among them will be those who are in the blissful plane and who wish to listen to the teaching of the great master, to fulfill their freedom, their realization, and to free themselves from the shackles of samsara once and for all. Let us invite all of them to join us, to engage in this meritorious deed, to rejoice in these merits, to listen to the teaching of the great master, realize the Four Noble Truths, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. So as I now make this invitation, I ask you all to extend that invitation in your hearts and in your minds out to all of them, to join us, to be with us, and to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Samanta Chakravalesu Atra Gachantu Devata Saddhammang Munirajasansa Sunantu Sagga Mokkadam Dhamma Savana Kalo Ayang Bhadanta Dhamma Savana Kalo Ayang Bhadanta Dhamma Savana Kalo Ayang Bhadanta. Also, before we continue, let us take a moment to remind ourselves that in this long journey that we have come in samsara, we have not always been the way we are today. We have not always been this generous, this kind-hearted, this gentle. What we are today is the result of our association with the noble ones and good and kind-hearted people that we have had the good fortune of associating. However, in this long journey that we have come in samsara, our associations have been mostly with ignoble, immoral people. These associations defiled our minds with desire, aversion, and delusion. They blinded us with ignorance and attachment. And in our blindness, on countless occasions, we would have offended, insulted the noble ones. The Samma Sambuddhas and the Pacceka Buddhas, Arahata Buddhas, Anagami, Sakradagami, Sotapannas, be they on the path of having attained the fruits, as well as the Buddhas ministry to some of the Shasana. Such thoughts, words, and actions have continue to today hinder us on our path to our liberation. So, for any misconduct on our part, either knowingly or unknowingly, for any revile, desecration, slander, or insult we might have directed towards them, let us take a moment to seek forgiveness. And as you take a moment to do that, I urge you to make a solemn promise to yourself to never conduct yourself in that manner ever again. Let us all take a moment to do that just now. And finally, let us all make a firm resolve that may through the course of this sermon, we'll be able to witness the Four Noble Truths, realize it, and achieve the first noble state of Sotapanna. For those among you who may have already achieved that noble state, may through the course of this sermon, you'll be able to fulfill the subsequent stages and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. With that resolve in mind, I invite you all now to prepare yourselves to listen to this. Okay. It is said that man's greatest duty is his service to others. I would also like to believe that it is man's greatest opportunity to serve others. In serving others, we serve ourselves. We know this now because we understand how the world works, how everything hangs together, how the universe operates, its mechanics, the fundamentals. We have understood, ladies and gentlemen, the principle of what you give is what you get, and if you give, you shall get. This is not something we ought to take lightly. It is in fact something that we have missed or even misunderstood, something that has been amiss for a very long time. If you look around you, most of what you see is evident to that fact. To what fact? The fact that people haven't realized this. There's a very small proportion of people who, because of their understanding or through sheer luck, seem to have engaged in the process of giving to others. Whether they do it because they know it or not, as a result of that, they receive. In serving others, they serve themselves. But the vast majority of people are ignorant to this fundamental principle. And it's a real shame. It's a terrible shame. It's a terrible loss. To live without understanding and knowing this principle is to not have lived at all. Great philosophers from time to time come and remind the human race prevailing at that time of these fundamental truths. What you give is what you get. Love thy neighbor, and so on. Because in loving others, you receive love. In showing kindness to others, you receive kindness. In showing respect to others, you receive that respect. What you give is what you get. What goes round, you know it. This is why I like to think that it is not only man's greatest duty, that is service to others, but also man's greatest opportunity. If it is so that what we give is what we get, then do you not think and accept that it is indeed an opportunity that we have to serve others? Because if what we get is only what we give, then imagine if we did not have the opportunity to serve others. What would that be like? Imagine if we did not have the opportunity to show kindness to others. What would that be like? What would be the result of that? If you did not have the opportunity to show kindness to others, as a result of that, what else would happen? You would not be shown any kindness. So if you did not have the opportunity to serve others, you would not have any opportunity to be served. If you did not have the opportunity to give, what else would you not have? I want you to think this along with me. Right? We're on a journey. If you did not have the opportunity to give to others, what else would you not have the opportunity for? You would not have the opportunity to receive. Take a good long look at yourself. Take a good look at who you are. Take a good look at what you have around you and who you have become. In everything you see, do you not see a story to relate? If you think that you are pretty, that you are good looking, that you are handsome, what does that tell you about yourself? If you are good looking, if you are pretty, if you are attractive, if you are handsome, you have helped others live a handsome life. You have helped make others' lives beautiful. You have added color and attractiveness to the lives of others. That is why today you are the way you are. If, on the other hand, you believe that you are not as good looking as you'd like to be, if you think that you do not have the good looks that you would have liked to have had, what does that tell you about yourself? Are you rich? Are you pretty? Remember what Kesara asked her mother? When she was just a little girl, what did she ask her mother? When I was just a little girl, I asked my mother, what will I be? Will I be rich? Will I be pretty? What will be, will be. So her mother responds, Kesara, Sara, the future is not ours to see. What will be, will be. Whether you will be pretty or whether you will be rich is not something I can tell you, because the future is not ours to see. Kesara, Sara, whatever will be, will be. Well, you can tell that Kesara's mother didn't know very much. She didn't know what you and I know today. She did not know the principle of give and receive. Because the future is ours to see. You want to look into the future? You can do that. You want to look back into your past? Of course you can do that. Don't you think so? Once you understand the principle of give and you shall receive, once you understand the principle of what you give is what you get, and if you give, you shall get, now you can tell your past and you can predict your future. You can do both of these things. If today you are rich, tell me about your past. Normally, you'd be inclined to tell me how you earned all your money. If you ask a rich man, how did you become rich? Typically, what they'll tell you is, well, when I started out, I didn't have any of this. But I worked hard. I worked on getting myself a good education. I engaged in various occupations. And I worked hard to earn my money. And today what you see is everything that I worked hard to earn. I have earned this. That is a very short-sighted review of what has happened. But if you ask a wise man, sir, how is it that you have become rich? In his description of how he has become rich, he's not going to tell you how he worked hard to earn his money. He's not going to be telling you how he worked hard to earn his money. What would he say instead? How he worked hard to give money to others. How he worked hard to enrich other people's lives. How he helped the poor. So, looking at your present, you can say a lot about your past. If today you have a loving husband, a good family, what does that tell you about your past? If you believe that your husband or your wife, your spouse, is faithful to you, what does that tell you about your past? It tells you that you have been faithful. If, on the other hand, you believe that your spouse is unfaithful to you, what does that tell you about your past? It says a lot, doesn't it? Take a moment to think about all the things that you are not impressed by what your spouse does to you, how he or she treats you, how you have been neglected. What does that tell you about yourself? Because oftentimes you will strive to read your spouse and find out what it is that she's doing wrong or what it is that he's doing wrong to you. That's a terrible shame because you're studying the wrong specimen. You're studying the wrong subject. The subject you ought to be studying is yourself. If what you give is what you get, then what you're getting right now is what you'd given in the past. I know we've talked about this in the past, but it's an important and interesting topic to revisit from time to time. Because in it lies, it holds the key to your freedom. It holds the key to your happiness. It holds the key to your liberation. It is a fantastic teaching. The principle of give and you shall get. The principle of what you give is what you get. So much so, I just can't bring myself to figure how people have lived and survived without this knowledge. So if today you are rich, tells you a lot about your past. If today you are poor, what does that tell you about your past? Looking at your present, who do you think you need to study? But who do you think people study? To understand why people are poor, why one is poor, what they normally do is they go out and they try and find out what's wrong with the world around them. In which global study, if I might add, does it say that the reason for poverty is that people don't give enough? I'm yet to come across such a study. If you have found one, then I'd be quite impressed. Is it at the United Nations Summit or the G7 Summit that they discuss these matters and they try to figure out why people live in poverty? And the reason for that is suggested that it is because people don't give enough. When and where is ever the fact that one doesn't give enough attributed to their poverty, to their not having enough? The truth is one. What you like to believe may be something completely different. But no matter what you believe, no matter how hard you try, if you're not doing what you need to be doing, you're not going to get a different result. Doing more of the same thing is not going to get you a different result. You can keep doing the wrong thing time and time again. Because it's not the right thing to be doing, you're not going to get the expected result. The reason why people have to work so terribly hard these days? I mean, look at how people work their socks off. What are working hours these days like? Long time ago, it was in the mornings. People worked half a day, and the remainder of the day they'd spend with their families. But look at things now. What is a working day like right now, in today's day and age? There's no balance between work and family life anymore, is there? It has become one and the same. Because people don't realize the truth. People haven't understood the reality, the truth. And therefore, they have to keep working slavery. So much hard work and toil, but you still don't get what you want. Only because you're not doing the right thing. Just take a moment to study yourself. What is your typical working week like? How many hours a week do you work? How many days a week do you work? All 7 days? For some people, there aren't enough days in the week to work. If there were an eighth day, I imagine he who created the world and the universe and the week created an eighth day, added an extra day to the week. What do you think people would do with that? Do you think people will spend that day with their family? You think people are going to take their dog for a walk? Oh no. That'll be an extra day on which they can do what? Work even more. Why? Simply because they haven't understood the principle of what you give is what you get. You know, if there's one thing I could do before I pass away, if there's one gift I could give to mankind before I could pass away, it would be to put into as many heads as possible. It would be to knock this truth into as many brains as possible. That the reason you suffer so much today is because you don't give enough. Even if I couldn't help people understand Nibbana, I wish more people would learn the principle of what you give is what you get. Give and you shall get. If there's only one thing I could leave behind as a gift for mankind before I pass away, it would be that. The principle, this very principle of what you give is what you get. Everyone's working very hard, indeed. People are putting in long hours, long shifts, night shifts, weekend shifts, 12-hour shifts, 24-hour shifts. I have heard of 48 or even 72-hour shifts. And how much more can you keep pushing this? People try to keep pushing the boundaries of what is deemed possible, what is deemed normal, what is deemed safe, all in an effort to try to achieve a satisfaction in life, a fulfillment in life. They do everything but the one thing that needs to be done. What a pity. Countries wage wars with each other because they want peace. Like, really? In the name of peace, they fight. Seriously? If what you give is what you get, in giving fear, in giving threat, in giving animosity, what do you think they're going to get back? Have a look at what's happened to this world. New types of missiles and weapons are introduced. almost every day. If you just look on the news, you'll find the next superpower. Some powerful country, you'll find that they have invented a new type of missile that can blow up an entire nation half the way across the globe. Why? Because they want to live in peace, apparently. In the name of peace, they create weapons. In the name of peace, they give fear. So what they'll say is, look at all these powerful weapons we have at our disposal. Don't mess with us. So what are they giving? Fear and threats. And in exchange, what do they expect? Peace. Like, how does that work? Science is more advanced than it was, and every day they make advances or advancements. But why is it that no matter how much science and all the other disciplines advance, people still struggle? With how advanced science is today, don't you think people's lifestyles, their well-being should have improved? But look at what's happening. More people are suffering from heart diseases, from cholesterol, high blood pressure, diabetes, and various types of incurable diseases. New diseases affect people every day. But science keeps on improving. New advances in technology, in medical science, new breakthroughs in physics, chemistry, everything. With so much development going on, with so much advancement going on, in comparison, don't you think that humankind should be able to live a better life than they do today? But do they? That is why, as I said earlier, it doesn't matter how many or how much of the wrong things you do, you're not going to get the expected results. To get what you want, you need to do the right thing. It's only doing the right thing that will get you the expected result. No amount of clicking your fingers together is going to light a fire. Because it's just not doing the right thing. If you wanted to light a fire, you'd have to take something that was flammable and rub it against something that can bring about heat in the presence of oxygen, now you have fire. See, if you're doing the right thing, you don't need to do lots of it. You just need to do it. You don't necessarily need to do lots of it. But when you keep doing the wrong thing, people will just keep on improving or increasing the quantity. Try to do more in the hope of receiving more. That's just wishful thinking. That's why I say, if there was one thing I could leave behind for mankind, one gift I could leave behind for people, one thing that I'd like you to take away from all of the sermons that I have ever done, from all of the sermons that you've ever heard me do, if there's one thing you could take away, it is what you give is what you get. Because through this principle, you can explain practically everything. Whatever you can see today, whatever you can hear today, whatever you have become today, is what you have given to others. Using this principle, you can look back at your past and you can look into your future. You can shape your future. But I have not heard of come across any school curriculum where they teach you to become rich, you must give as much as possible. Where do they teach you that for economics? But these sciences, they're very advanced today. I mean, all disciplines have been invented to explain the world that you see around you, right? That is what physics is, that is what chemistry is, that is what biology is. It is what economics is. Theories that have been put forward to explain what you see around you, to explain what happens to you, to explain what might and will happen to you, to also explain what has happened in the past. But where in the textbooks does it say all of this can be explained through this one principle? What you give is what you get. Give and you shall get. The fundamental theory that can explain everything. I would even go as far as saying this is the most fundamental principle that governs everything in this universe. Give and get. It is truly underrated. How do we know this? Well, it's because people are suffering. Why do people suffer so much? What do you think they give others? If you instigate fear, anger, resentment, and threat in the minds of others, well, that is what you get back in return. Today, to keep themselves safe, people have had to build a safe around them. Surround themselves with in four walls. Now you're in a safe. Why the huge walls? Because people are worried. People live in fear. But does building these walls reduce the fear or take it away? Clearly not, because if that were the case, then you should be able to take down the walls the moment you feel safe. Does that make you feel safe? Certainly not. If it is to feel safe, if it is to live without fear, that one surrounds themselves in four walls or with four walls, then building those walls or putting up four walls around you should then take away that fear. But does it? In which case, you should now be able to take down the walls and still feel safe. So it doesn't take away fear. It only keeps fear at bay. Because when you continue to give fear to others, it is not possible that you can live fearless. So today I'm inviting you to study yourself. As I said, take a long, good look at yourself and study yourself. Look at your present and you will be able to tell your past. Look at your present and you will be able to predict your future. If you think it's fine, then let it be. If you think it's not fine, then it's time to change. What do you give others today? Take a moment to ask yourself, what is it that you give others? Do you give others love? Do you show them kindness? Do you give them material things? Do you show them empathy? Do you show them care? Do you really though? You can't fool yourself here because you can't fool the principle. So ask yourself honestly, what do you give others today? Are you happy to be on the receiving end of whatever it is you give others? Ask yourself that question. Let's put it this way, to think through this practically. Would you be happy to be your best friend? You know how you treat your friends, right? So I'm asking you the question, would you be happy to consider you your best friend? Think about how you treat your best friend. Would you be happy to be your best friend? Would you be happy to be your husband or your wife? Would you be happy to be your son or your daughter? Your father or your mother? Here's one thing you could do, right? Get out a piece of paper. Draw yourself in the middle of that, like just roughly. And put a label on it beneath that. Just say, me. Now draw all the other people around you. In your life, all the people that surround you. Your friends, especially if you know them by name. So that will be your closest friends. Your siblings. Your parents. Your children. Your co-workers. Your neighbors. Your teachers. Right? Once you've done that, now take that pen and place the tip of your pen on what you have on yourself, as in what you've drawn yourself in the picture. That will be the center of it. Take the tip of your pen and put it in the center. That will be you. So you'll have labeled beneath that me. Okay? Now draw lines from yourself to all the people that you have drawn on that paper. So connect the people that you have drawn around you on that piece of paper using a straight line. Draw a straight line to connect you to the people around you. Okay? Once you've done that, bring the pen back to yourself, right? And now take a moment to consider what it feels like to be you. This will be easy. This will be the easy bit. What does it feel like to be you? Well, of course, you know what it feels like to be you. It's you. Now, using the tip of your pen, trace the line between you and another person on that piece of paper. Anyone you like. Trace that line all the way to the person on the other end. So that will be either your mother, your father, your husband or wife, your brother or sister, son or daughter, your friend, your colleague. Now see who they are connected to using that straight line. They're connected to you. Now here's what I want you to do. Now that you've traced that line to the other person on the other end of that line, with the tip of your pen placed on that other person, close your eyes and imagine that that is you, that you are that person. You are that person. So you are the other person that is who is connected to you. Now imagine what it would feel like for them to be connected to you. How do you feel now connected to the person in the center of that picture, in the middle of that picture? Who's that? Well, of course, it's you. But what I'm asking you to do is to pretend or to put yourself in the shoes of the other people that surround you. And ask yourself, how does that make you feel? Does it make you feel happy? Do you feel blessed to be connected to the person in the center of that picture? Do you feel delighted? Do you feel rewarded? Do you feel excited? How does it make you feel? Now, however you feel, I want you to score that feeling on a scale of 1 to 5. So put a number from 1 to 5. So let's take, for instance, you have traced your pen to your wife. Okay? Now, what I want you to do is I want you to imagine what it feels like to be your wife. So then you would be your husband in this role play. Now I want you to score on a scale of 1 to 5 how you feel about having you as your husband. What does it feel like to be your wife? What would you give yourself? How good a husband are you? But you can't answer this question thinking about yourself as the husband. You need to think about this as from the perspective of the wife. That is why I asked you to trace that line all the way to the wife. And then close your eyes and imagine that you are the wife, as in you are, well, your wife. And now score how you feel being the wife of yourself. Give yourself a score. Write it down on that piece of paper. Where a 1 is you feel terrible, you feel unloved, uncared for, no respect, no dignity. You feel hurt. You feel that this relationship is unfulfilling. So much so that you wish that you weren't the wife of the other person, as in that you weren't your wife. That's a 1 to a 5. Where a 5 would be, you couldn't ask for a better husband. You have the most wonderful life for being the wife of this person. You feel so loved. You feel protected. You feel cared for. You receive a lot of respect. You're well regarded. And you feel really good about yourself for being the wife of the person. That is you. So score yourself. So in other words, really, you're scoring yourself as the husband, but you're doing this from the perspective of your wife, where right now you are imagining yourself to be the wife. This is not terribly difficult. If you try and do it, you'll realize that it's not difficult to do. You know what will be difficult is to come to terms with how that other person must feel about you. For some of you, you'll be pretty impressed. For others, I think you'll be pretty shocked. This is easy to do because if you have scored yourself, or rather, if you, as the husband of the wife, does not feel love, cared for, and attention from your other half, we are trying to work out why that is the case. If you don't feel loved, if you don't feel affectionate, if you don't feel the affection, if you don't feel care from your wife, we are trying to work out why that is the case. And to do so, what we did was we traced this connection between you and your wife, and then from the perspective of the wife, we are asking ourselves, how do I feel being the wife of this person? And now you're scoring yourself based on that. This will be a really eye-opening activity if you can find the time to do it. You will learn so much about yourself. And you will be able to really evaluate why you feel the way you do about the others around you. Because unless you do something like this, you'll always be tempted to think that I don't feel loved, I don't feel cared for. It is because other people around me don't look after me, don't care for me, don't love me. So in other words, you're expecting things from others without giving anything. No amount of that is going to get you anything or anywhere. To get what you want, you must give what others want. In other words, you must give what you want. There's a wonderful expression. Help as many people get what they want to get what you want. You could take that one step further and say, to get what you want, help others get what you want. I mean, it's a very common and accepted expression. To get what you want, help others get what they want. If I remember right, that was Zig Ziglar who said that. But I'll take that one step further, and I propose to you to get what you want, help others get what you want. Not what they want, but what you want. See, the reason for that is, if you want to be happy, and there's another person, someone you know, but say they are into all sorts of mischief. Someone you know, they're trying to steal something. You want to be happy, right? You want to be happy, and they want to be happy, and for them, happiness is to take something that doesn't belong to them from somebody else. Now you could get what they want. So you help them steal. You're not going to get what you want by doing that. Because in helping another person get what they want, what you might have done is take away something from someone else. Say, for instance, a friend of yours, he wants to rob a bank. So you want to get what you want. What you want is happiness. You want to become rich, for instance, right? And you believe that is what's going to make you happy. So you help your friend rob a bank. Why? Because to get what you want, you help others get what they want. So they want to rob a bank. You help them rob a bank. You think that's going to make you rich? But what if you helped other people get what they want? Or rather, get what you want? You want to be rich. You help other people get rich. Not by taking what belongs to somebody else. Because then you are robbing something that belongs to someone else. And when you rob something that belongs to someone else, then something that belongs to you gets robbed. But instead, you help someone become rich by teaching them the principles of getting rich. When you help others get what you want, you will get what you want. That is why I say, take a long, hard look at yourself, and you will be able to understand what it is that you have given others. Whatever you have received today is what you have helped others achieve in their life. So whatever it is you want, you have helped others get. You have helped others achieve that. Take a moment to do a review of your life. What are the 5 things you're really pleased about your life? The top 5 things that you're really pleased about. What are your 5 greatest achievements? Every man will have something to say. Every woman will have something to say about this. What are the top 5 things that you're really pleased about? Your top 5 achievements, your greatest achievements. Write them down. This is a personal review. What are the top 5 things that you are not so pleased about? That you feel are the greatest failures of your life? Things you wish hadn't happened or weren't happening right now. 5 things, if you were able to go back in time in history and change, you would instantly. What 5 things would that be? 5 of your greatest regrets. 5 of the, oh, if only, and ... So you wish that something had happened otherwise. What 5 things would that be? Right, once you have this list of the top 5 of your greatest achievements, your greatest successes, and the top 5 of your greatest failures, the 5 things that you wish hadn't happened to you. Now, see if you can work out how they happened to you. You understand the principle of what you give is what you get. Give and you shall get. Through that principle, try and now explain these 10 things that pretty much define your success and failure in life. Because those top 5 things, the 5 successes, are the things that make you most happy. These are the things that make you want to live another day. These are the get you ups when you feel down. These are the things that get you out of bed in the morning. And then on the other hand, the other 5, the 5 of your greatest failures, the things that you wish never happened to you or are not happening to you right now. These are the things that really kill your ambitions, the real drains on your energy, your willpower, your will to live sometimes. Through the principle of what you give is what you get, try and explain these 10 things. I tell you folks, this is a fantastic activity you could do for yourself. Any man, woman or child, at any point in their life, can do this. For one thing, for one purpose, and that is the things that you like, the things that you celebrate, how can you get more of them? Because wouldn't that be great? Whatever you think are your greatest successes, wouldn't it be great if you had more of them? When I ask you for the top 5 things, wouldn't it be great if you could say, oh, please, 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 I've got 10. Can I write down all 10 of them? Wouldn't that be great? But sometimes you might have to scratch your head wondering, top 5? I'm not sure I've got 5. You have attracted to yourself what you have become. So those 5 things on the top and those 5 things on the bottom, these are the things that you have attracted to yourself. We know the law of attraction. You have attracted them because you have become worthy of them. Becoming worthy of something isn't only something that needs to be used in a positive sense, but also in a negative sense. If you become worthy of being poor, then you will end up being poor. If you become worthy of being rich, you will end up being rich. I use rich and poor frequently and often because it is something that is very close to most people's hearts. But you could think of anything, whether it is looks that you're after, or friendship, love, care, attention, wealth, food, a nice place to live, anything, education, health, well-being, whatever it may be, you name it. Whatever you have got today, whatever you have achieved today, folks, be that positive or negative, is what you have attracted, is what you have attracted to yourself. No one else is responsible for it. Absolutely no one. You have attracted what you have become. Because it is in becoming you attract those things. So ask yourself now this question. What 5, the top 5, the things that you celebrate as your greatest successes, your greatest victories and achievements, what do you think you might have done to attract those things? If you have a loving family, what do you think you might have done to attract a loving family? So, really what we're doing is we are reverse engineering. your life. Don't you love it when you can analyze your life, yourself? Most people spend an entire lifetime trying to understand how things work and how they are and why they are the way they are. But luckily, we are so fortunate to have come across our teachers and their teachings, which put to us in very simple terms the truths that explain all of this. So much so that today we can do a complete analysis of ourselves. Like a software developer, a software engineer, a coder debugging his code. You can debug yourself. Whatever it is you like about yourself, whatever it is you like about what you have achieved, all those good things, the positive things, you can get more of them. Isn't that great news? To know that there are other options than working more hours and trying to find another day in the week. You don't have to spend any more sleepless nights. It may be that to get more of what you want, you don't need to spend any more time away from your family. Isn't that great news? I mean, is it not the fundamental problem that people look for answers? If you ask in very simple terms, what makes a man happy? Most of the time, the answer you'd get back is, well, to be with my family, the people I love, the people I care about. To be with them and to make sure that they're happy, that's what I want out of my life. Most people would say that. And you can forgive them for saying that. If you haven't seen Nibbana or anything outside of the normal run-of-the-mill day-to-day life, if you haven't seen anything that is supra-mundane, then of course in the mundane existence that we have all been used to living, then it would be very normal for someone to say, what I want out of my life is to be able to give happiness to my family and to see them happy. And that's perfectly fine. I'm trying to show you, I'm trying to help you understand, folks, that you may be doing something that you needn't do to keep them happy. Perhaps the one thing that you could do quite easily, you're not doing. See, to provide for your family, what if what you needed to do was not to go and work another 6 hours, another 8 hours, but instead, what you really needed to do was from whatever you earned every month, put aside 5% of your total earnings to charity. What if that's what you needed to do? But instead, what you're doing is you're working more hours. What if you really needed to do? Because we are all governed by the principles of the universe, the fundamental principles of the universe, and no one can change that. Right? What if the truth was that to be able to provide for your family easier, more easily, and to provide for them far better than you do already, all you needed to do was actually give away to charity 5% of your total earnings? Wouldn't that be easier than working an extra day every week? But with no one to show you this, to no one to help you realize this, then, there would be no reason for you to think that. Because wherever you look, we learn from the people around us, right? We learn from the world that we live in. How else do we learn? We learn by watching others do what they think is right. And in the world that we live in, to be able to provide better or more for your family, to earn more, I think what people think they need to do is to go and work harder, to do more hours, to work longer shifts, to sleep less and work harder. What if that's not the truth? Just what if? What if there was a simpler way? What if there was a much more efficient way? Wouldn't you try that? Wouldn't you want to try that? Wouldn't you at least want to know that? At least to find out about that? At least to learn about that? What if all you had to do was put away 5% of everything you earned? 8%, 10% of everything you earned? What if? There are those who've tried that, and they have nothing other than success stories to share. In a world of gather, accumulate, hoard, collecting things around you, in a world where that seems to be the norm, in a world in the world that we live in, because we are so heavily influenced by the people around us, and wherever we look, what we see is people working hard and harder and harder every day. But what if that's not the right thing to do? What if people are exerting themselves unnecessarily? What if there was a simpler way? And there is. That's why I say, look at the 5 things that you're really pleased about in your life. The top 5 things that you believe are your greatest successes, your greatest achievements. Using the principle of what you give is what you get, give and you shall get. Using that principle, try and work out how it is that you have achieved those 5 things. And guess what? Do more of it. Because whatever works, all you need to do is more of it, right? Whatever doesn't work, all you have to do is less of it. This is the philosophy for a successful life. This seems so simple. And that may be why most people will be tempted not to do it. Because what's easy to do is what? Easy not to do. Think about the 5 negatives of your life. The 5 things that are your greatest disappointments. Using the principle of what you give is what you get. Give and you shall get. Try and explain those 5 things. Folks, I tell you, invest some time in doing this. You'll thank me later for this, someday. Maybe years from now, you'll thank me for doing this or for asking you to do this if you do this. Those who don't, well, of course, they won't figure. They won't find out the results, so they'll not have a reason to thank me. But if you do it, you will thank me later. The top 5 things that are your greatest disappointments, using the principle of give and you shall get. Try and explain why you have been on the receiving end of such disappointments, of those negatives, of those failures. Even if you were to invest a whole week or even a weekend at least, it's still a very, very extremely worthwhile investment. Because your entire life can be made simpler and more efficient if only you put some time into doing this. So make sure you do this. Top 5, bottom 5, using the principle of what you give is what you get, explain. Each of them. So you'll have 10 in total. Each of them. Explain each of them. I'll take an example. Let's say, for instance, one of your greatest achievements is that you have become successful in your career. You're well regarded in your profession, and you're successful in your career. Okay? That may be one of the things that you're really proud of. One of your accomplishments. Now, using the principle of what you give is what you get, explain that. How is it that you have become successful in your career? That you're well sought after in your profession, you're well regarded, you have earned the respect of your colleagues and your contemporaries. How is it that you have achieved all that? If what you give is what you get, then look at what you got and now work out what you gave. Quite simply, you have helped others become successful in their careers. Isn't that how someone rises to the top? Look at the people who are at the top. What do they do? The senior most manager of an organization, what is their role? It is doing what? Helping others in their organization do what? Improve in their careers, right? Climb up the career ladder. Help them become better in their professions. Well, doesn't that explain how it is that they're up there? See? It is what they have done, they continue to do. It's really simple. It's mind-blowingly simple. You'd be surprised how simple this is. But instead, because people don't realize this, what do? To get to the top of their career ladder, what they try and do is steal career opportunities from others. They try and want better other people in their organization. Instead of helping their colleagues climb up the career ladder, they try and snatch opportunities from others. Let me ask you a simple question. You can answer this honestly. Okay? Let's say you and a colleague, so you're both working in the same department, in the same section, the same team, okay? And both you and your colleague are interested in a promotion, and you have to apply for this position. You find out that a position has become available in the organization, and that will be a step up. And you have to apply for this. There'll be perhaps an interview, and if you're successful, you get the role. You know that your colleague, your coworker, is quite keen on making a move, a transfer up. How many people do you know? And would you, the moment you find out about this new opportunity, inform their colleagues about it and encourage them to submit an application and even go as far as helping them complete their application, knowing fully well that they are going to be your competition? How many people do you think would do that? It sounds completely wrong, doesn't it? Because what seems to be the obvious thing to do? If you want to get the role, then make sure no one else finds out about it. If there's a notice on the notice board that says a new position has come up, people can apply, right? What do you think most people will be inclined to do? They'll look left, they'll look right, make sure no one's watching, and then do what? Yeah, that's right. You know the drill. What do? They take down the notice. They'll take it down, put it in their pockets, and walk away so that no one else finds out about it. They'll go up to their colleagues, and if this new position gets discussed by the water cooler, and if you find out that your colleague has somehow got to know about it, you might even go up to them and say, oh, apparently this new role has come up, hasn't it? Yeah, it's not worth it. I'm not going to bother anyway. The pay is not all that. It's not worth it. I mean, it's difficult already as it is. All the responsibilities that I have, I'm not going to apply anyway. I don't think anyone ought to, really. Frankly, the person that was in that position, the reason that they must have moved on was because it was a terrible job in the first place. I think the hours are killer. Apparently, you have to work nights as well. I wouldn't bother if I were you. These are some of the things that most people would say. While typing up their application, printing up their CVs, making it all up to date, polishing up your interviews, prepping for it, all of that behind the scenes, but not a word of it to your colleague. And then you submit your application and hope that you get the role. Do you think someone like you, I'm using the word you, but I don't really mean you. I mean, this is just, we're just role playing here, right? You understand that. If you were someone like that, do you think you deserve that role? A senior role in an organization, a leader who has a tendency to stop other people in the organization from developing themselves and stretching themselves to achieve their fullest potential. Would you give yourself that job? If you were the hiring manager, would you hire someone like yourself? If you got to know that the person submitting the application had taken down the notice from the notice board? Or rather, would you put them through a disciplinary? And perhaps even dismiss them? See, people don't do what they need to or ought to be doing. Instead, they do everything else and they try and perfect it. They do all the wrong things and they try and perfect it. Whereas what you ought to be doing, if you want to get yourself into that position, is to help as many people with their applications, with their submissions. Make it known to others that an opportunity has come about. This very opportunity that you want to apply for. You'd like to get the role. Tell other people about it. I know this sounds wrong, it just doesn't sound right. It doesn't seem like the right thing to do because it goes against what seems like logical. It seems like to get what you want, you must make sure that others don't find out about it. But unfortunately, that is not the truth. If you want to get something, help others get what you want. Help others get what you want. I'm sharing, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sharing with you a philosophy for successful living. If you want a successful life, whatever it is you believe is success for you, reverse engineer them and explain them through the principle of what you give is what you get. How does one become rich? Say, for instance, another item on your list is to become rich, or the fact that you are wealthy is one of your greatest successes. Look at what wealthy people do in the world today. Someone who's quite wealthy will usually have a lot of people working for him or her. And what he or her will do, or he or she will do, would be helping other people earn a living. They'll have a staff on their payroll. In other words, helping other people earn a living, helping other people earn some money. And look at the principle of that. Look at how it all works and look at how it all ties together. See, if you have an employee in your organization and you are the boss, right? They're on your payroll. If you help them become successful, would they not in turn help make you successful? Because whatever they invest in your organization to help you, the owner of the organization, become successful, if you give them in return, then they'll help you in return. So you see, again, what you give is what you get. To be successful in your organization, you have to help people, the people in your organization become successful. It is what successful people do. I'm saying, those things that you have done already to become successful, you'll probably continue doing because it is what you have done to become successful. You have become a successful person. In those 5 areas, you have already become a successful person because you are doing the right things. That's why. So chances are you'll continue to do them anyway. But here's the thing. The 5 things that you are least successful with, The 5 things you are least successful with, the top 5 disappointments of your life, the top 5 failures of your life, the reason that you're a failure in that department, in that area, in that section, in that discipline is because you still haven't figured, you still haven't cracked that what you give is what you get. Work out what those 5 things are. And now explain why you have become unsuccessful in those areas through the principle of what you give is what you get. Let's say, for instance, you don't get good grades at school. You're always failing exams, and you're just not performing well at school in your academics. What does that tell you? What would a normal person do? Here are some of the things that they'll do. They'll try and copy. In a test, because they want to pass, they failed last time, so what should I do? I should copy. They'll try and cheat. Maybe try and take down some notes from the lessons and take some of them to the exam hall and try and cheat. Those are some of the things that they try and do. Maybe they'll try and steal, as we've heard people do, shockingly, but hey, that's the way the world works. The top performers in the class. If someone's doing better than you, I've heard of some students, some pupils, they'll steal their textbooks. They'll steal their notebooks. So nearing exam time, when it's time that everyone needs to be studying hard, the unsuccessful student will sabotage. That's what they'll resort to. They'll steal the notebooks, textbooks of successful students. Sometimes they might go and tell tales, backbite, about successful students in the class with their teachers. To try and tarnish their good name and reputation, in the hope that other people, that the other students who have been performing well, as a result of all the complaints and the heartache that comes following this tale telling, will fail in their exams. So in trying to get other people to fail, you will always remain an unsuccessful person, an unsuccessful student. So try and understand this from the principle of what you give is what you get. If you have been a poor performer, this is something parents should always do with their children. If your child is a poor performer, if they don't get good grades in class, one of the best things that they could do, one of the best things that you ought to get them to do, is to help other students in their class, in his or her class, with their lessons. And you can be creative. Of course, if you're not good in a particular subject, then you can't go and teach someone better than you. But there'll always be someone worse than you. If you know your addition and subtraction, but not your multiplication and division, You could go and teach someone who doesn't know the addition and subtraction. When you do that, you earn the credits, you earn the merits to go on to better understand the other topics. Look at all the good performers in class, the successful students in class, the high performers. One thing that will be characteristic of them is that they all spend time teaching what they have learned to others in the class. They're always so helpful. They're always willing to give their time to others. If there's someone in class who's struggling with their math, with their science, with their history or geography, the top performers in class are always those who will help them with their homework, with their lessons, and so on. You know I'm right. That is what they have done to get where they are today. So if you're not a good performer, if you think your studies are suffering, you could do better, then it is not stealing other people's books that you need to be doing. It is not asking for the examination board to make the paper easier. Never wish it was easier, always wish you were better. A very important principle for a successful life. Never wish it was easier. Wish you were better. To be better, help other people become better. In helping others become better, you will be better. Better is what you become in helping other people become that. Rich is something you become in helping other people become that. Poor is something you become in helping other people become that. That is why I said earlier on, what you are is what you have become. And what you have become is what you have helped other people become. This is the undeniable truth. No matter how hard you try, you cannot go against this rule. This is an underlining, overarching principle that governs the way the universe operates. You can only accept it and live by it. You can't deny it. You could try, but it's not going to work. This is always how it's going to be. Whether you like it or not, this is always how it's going to be. And the wonderful thing is, it's easier than most of the things that people do. As I asked you earlier on, if you want to be rich, if you want to become wealthy, most people think what they need to be doing is to find extra time so that they could go and work. Do longer shifts, work harder. Moonlight. To pick up another job, a second, third, fourth job. Some people I know, they have 3 jobs, 4 jobs on the go. And if you ask them, why are you working so hard? Because I want to earn money. You have to work, all right? I give you that. But to make your work efficient, to get more for what you work, what you need to do is to give. Help others get what you want, and you will get what you want. But a poor man's philosophy would be, I don't have, anything. So how can I give anything? It's all right for people who have. I mean, of course they'd be giving because they have, but I don't have, so how can I give? When do you think they're going to get rich? When do you think they're going to become wealthy? The answer is never. Even the poorest of people will still have something that they can give, and that might be a smile. That could be a kind word. If you're a beggar, here's one of the best things you could do. Whatever you earn from begging, give away 10% of that to people who need it, to charity. But what is a beggar's mentality? It wasn't easy to earn this. I had to beg for this all day. I had to walk around the town in the traffic, in the scorching sun. Look at all I've earned, $20, $30, $50, that's all I've earned today. You tell me to give away 5%, 10% of this? You out of your mind? A poor beggar would ask. That beggar will always be a beggar. But what about a rich beggar? What's a rich beggar? A beggar with a rich man's mentality. What would they do? That's what I'm saying. If you are a beggar, I can teach you how to become successful. Because it doesn't matter where you start, folks. What matters is what you do. It really, really, really doesn't matter where you start. You could start from zero. You could start from absolutely nothing. What matters is not where you start. What matters is what you do. Where you get to is not determined by where you start. Where you get to is determined by what you do. So what does a beggar have to do to become rich? Become a rich beggar. I'm not saying give up the life of a beggar. If you want to continue being a beggar, then so be it. But you could be a rich beggar. What do you need to do to become a rich beggar? Give away 10% to charity. Whatever, give it away for a good cause. Find out who deserves it and give it. It could be someone who has less than you. It could be someone who has more than you. Matters not. Really matters not. But understand the principle of what you give is what you get. And I'm asking you to not only understand this, but practically use this. Employ this principle into your lives, folks. It's only in a time where we have the great philosophers, our great teachers, the Buddha, that we know of something like this, that this is how the world operates, this is how the world works, this is how things happen. Without the teachings, without these teachings, people just go about doing what they think is right, influenced by people who know none the better. Influenced by people who don't know any better. They'll just go about doing the same thing that other people do, other unsuccessful people do. To become successful, all you need to do is to watch and learn from successful people and do them. Do the things that they do. So simple, right? If you want to become successful, look at someone who's successful, figure out what it is that they do, and do them. Simple. You don't have to reinvent the success principles. They're all there because successful people already do them. You don't need to live and learn. You can learn and live. In a time where you don't have a teacher, you'll have to live and learn. But when you have a teacher, you can learn and live. That's the beauty of having a teacher. That's the beauty of having these principles available to you. And you do. That's the thing. So I'm inviting all of you to seriously consider what I have asked you to do today, this practical exercise. Review the successes and failures of your life through the lens of what you give is what you get. The fundamental principle that governs everything that operates in this world, in this universe. All the way right up to Nibbana. If you want Nibbana, what do you think you need to do? The very thing that you did when you wanted to become a rich man is the same thing you need to do when you want to attain Nibbana. What do you think I'm doing right now? What do you think I do twice a week? On a Saturday, to people whose tongue is Sinhalese, whose mother tongue is Sinhalese. On a Sunday, to people whose mother tongue is English. What do you think I help them do? Why do you think I help them do that? I am in the business of helping you get what I want. That is my profession now. I help you get what I want. I don't help what you get what you want. I help you get what I want. And I'm glad that you want the same thing. Because when you first meet someone and you know that they're not interested in the Dhamma, the first thing to do is to get them inspired, get them excited, get them interested in what I want. Not what they want, what I want. I'll get them interested in the Dhamma. I'll get them interested in salvation. I'll get them interested in their liberation, in happiness, in Nibbana. And then I'll help them get it. And in helping them get it, what do you think I get? I get just the same. Again, I'm inviting you. Look at successful people. Watch them. Learn what they do. And do them. That's all you need to do to become successful. Matters not where you start. It's what you do that matters. Review your life, your successes, your failures from the perspective, through the lens of what you give is what you get. And folks, I tell you, you will thank me for this. I may not even be around the day you come looking to thank me for it. And that's fine. Because really, it's not me you need to be thanking. It is the principle that you need to be thanking. If you want to thank a person, then the person you need to be thanking is the great master, not me. If you really wanted someone to thank. But really, that which deserves your gratitude is not a someone, but instead it's the principle. Seek refuge in the principle, in the doctrine. The doctrine of what you give is what you get. It is so powerful. I live by it, and that is why I'm inviting you to do it. It works. It so works. If ever in your life you feel down, you feel neglected, you feel ignored, you feel just meh, one of the best things you can do, actually no, the best thing you can do is go and help someone else feel better. Inspire someone. Share an inspirational story with someone. Share it on Facebook. I mean, if you ever feel suicidal, inspire someone. Share with someone the value of life. Help someone live a rich life. Forget for a moment that you're feeling down and help someone. At the end of this process, you'll feel like a new man, a new person. You'll wonder if you ever felt that way. This is how to succeed in life, whatever you want. Either positive or negative. If you want something negative, then help someone get that. What's the best way to get herpes? You know the answer. The best way to get it is to help someone else get it. I know it's not funny, but yeah, that's the truth. What's the best way to get AIDS? Help someone else get it. What you give is what you get. Positive or negative, whatever it is you want in life. Now you know the fundamental principle of getting anything you want in life. Absolutely anything you want in life. You know the principle now. Don't you feel empowered? Don't you feel that there's nothing you can stop you now? Have I asked you to believe in something that is something extraneous, something so unbelievable, something impossible? I've shared with you a simple fact. So simple, so logical. Do it and you shall reap the results. If you're feeling lazy, what's the best thing you could do? Go and help someone. Go and talk someone up. If you want to quit smoking, what's one of the best things you could do? In fact, what is the best thing you could do? Help someone else quit smoking. While you smoke, help someone else quit smoking. You can't give something to someone without you getting the best of it yourself. That is why this principle works. Have you ever seen a tap that gives water without getting wet? Doesn't work like that. Whatever you give, it has to go through you first. When you teach something to someone, well, it goes through you first, doesn't it? That's why the best of whatever you give is yours to keep. That's the way it works. That is why this principle works. When you inspire someone, how can you not be inspired? Of course, you must do it genuinely. You don't need to be inspired. It's all right. Don't try to inspire yourself. Go and inspire somebody else. But genuinely try and do it. See if you can stop yourself from being inspired. Not even if you tried. Because whatever you give, the best of it is always with you first. The best of what you give is yours. That's why you have to learn to love yourself before you love someone else. When you show love to somebody else, that's how you receive love. Try it. As I've said, I've given you a really practical thing to do, and I really hope that most of you will do it. At least most of you. But of course, I understand what is easy to do is easy not to do. So I would be foolish to think that all of you would do it. I would like if you can prove me a fool. How do you do that? By all of you doing it. Look at the top 5 things that you believe are the real successes of your life, and the top 5 things that are the true disappointments of your life. And study them through the lens of what you give is what you get. After you've completed this exercise, you will realize exactly how to live your life from that point forward. You won't need to come back and ask me, Swaminathan, what do I need to do to be happy? Swaminathan, what do I need to do to be less unhappy? You won't need to ask me what to do. I'm teaching you to become your own teacher. I'm showing you how you can guide yourself. Nothing makes me happier than to know that you are happy. This is the happiness principle. So do make sure that you do it. Find some time, get the weekend. If not this weekend, Sunday, you've still got the remainder of the day. You've got after this evening, after the end of the sermon. Start the new week having done this activity. Start tomorrow a new, fresh week, knowing exactly what you need to do to be happier in life and to get rid of all the things that have made you unhappy thus far. The 5 things that have been your pain points, the 5 things that have been your biggest gripes. Start the week knowing exactly what you need to do to get rid of them. See, you could get out of bed like a king. So fulfilling, so empowered. You can feel on top of the world. No one can stop you. You can become an unbeatable, unbreakable force. Knowing exactly what to do. Then you don't need to go after anybody, pleading to be at their mercy. You don't need to do that. Only people who don't know stuff have to go after people who have stuff. Usually they end up getting stuffed. You don't need to go after people. By people, I mean all sorts of people. People you can see and people you can't see. You know what I mean. You can be your own master. Study your today and you can learn about your past. Study your today and you can predict your future. Also do the other thing I asked you to do. Get that sheet of paper, draw yourself in the middle. Draw all the important characters in your life around you. Draw a straight line to connect you to them. And now, with the tip of your pencil or pen, Trace that path all the way back to them. Close your eyes and now imagine what it feels like to be them. To feel connected to you, what it feels like. What it feels like to be your wife. What it feels like to be your son. What it feels like to be your co-worker. Would you be your co-worker? Would you like to be your boss? Be the boss in your imagination and ask that question of yourself. Do you enjoy being your wife? Genuinely try and answer that question, and then you will find some answers. You'll be amazed at what you come across, what you realize. You'll find out so many things that you'll need to change in your life. Because when you start making those changes, folks, what you're changing is what you give others. So what does that do in the end? What is the result of that? Every force has an equal and opposite force. When you change how you make someone else feel, that will change how they make you feel. So really, you are in complete control of how someone else makes you feel. Because really, it's not them who's making you feel that way. Who's making you feel that way? You are making yourself feel that way. Why and how? It is by making them feel that way. I'm showing you how to be your own master. How to become your own master. Be nobody's slave. Be your own master. Employ these techniques. Understand the principles that govern how the universe works, how you operate, how you work. These principles will see you well. Believe you me, these are the principles of success. No matter how hard you look, no matter where you look, no matter which book you read. Anything contrary to this, if I were you, I'd give up. I'd look elsewhere. A wise man once told me, some people are wise, others are otherwise. If you are a wise man, do this. Today's sermon is all about preparing yourself for a successful life. This is the success principle. This is the successful principle, or the success principle. This is the philosophy for successful living. Every other principle is a spin-up of this. You can read volumes and books and pages on this stuff. There'll all be some form of this principle. Some manipulation of this principle. Some manifestation of this principle. Some extension of this principle. Some derivative of this principle. But at the end of the day, ultimately, this is the success principle. Try it, you won't fail. I promise you. How do I know? You know the answer. So, you no longer need to live and learn. Why? Because you can learn and live. Now you have learned. Go live. Before I conclude, there's been a request that has been with us for some time now, and a request. It's more of a request than a demand. But I think there is a huge demand for this also, and hence the request. I think there are a lot of people, our regular listeners, who would like to introduce these principles, these sermons even, the Dhamma, to others, introduce them to others. Perhaps to non-Buddhists, And really, you don't need to be a Buddhist to listen to any of these sermons. In most of our sermons, 90% of it, what you find are principles, fundamentals, theories, and reasoning that makes perfect sense regardless of what your faith, what your belief is. There may be a tiny 10% where I praise the Buddha. I speak my heart out about how I feel about him. But the remainder of it, by and large, are things that make sense to absolutely anybody. If you've got the power of reasoning, the power of logic, if you can make sense of things, if you are intelligible, then all of this makes sense. However, there's been a request for a series of video sermons to newcomers. As you have felt the need to introduce the Dhamma, these sermons, to a new audience, to a fresh audience. And I respect that, because what you're trying to do is a tremendously meritorious deed. You know, when you kept asking me for video sermons, I always denied. I said, no, please don't push me to do that. I much rather do these sermons speaking to a screen, and you can listen to them as we do that. However, now you have asked me, you have made a request to me, one which I cannot deny. Because now you're asking to help others. You're asking me, Swamin Wahanse, can you do us some sermons? A series of sermons that we can then use to introduce the Dhamma to other people just like ourselves, for whom it would be a real miss, a real loss, if in their lifetime they don't get to listen to these sermons. When you ask me that way, unfortunately, there's nothing I can say to deny that request or to reject that request. Because now you're not talking about something for yourself, you're talking about helping others. Your duty to others, service to others. You're asking about your greatest service. So, I've given it some thought, and in the very near future, it may be from next week, I don't know, maybe, I plan on doing a series of sermons. They'll probably be about an hour long, certainly not more than an hour and a half, because normally the feedback that we get from people who are new to these sermons is they'll be more than happy to come and sit down and watch or listen to a sermon live. But when you watch something on YouTube, a video, a recorded video sermon, then especially one that is faceless, it's difficult for people to retain their attention. So, in response to that request, I have agreed to do that, to do those series of sermons. A few sermons, probably maybe 5, maybe 10 sermons that can be used to introduce the Dhamma to non-Buddhists. I say non-Buddhists, but really people who are new to this. It really doesn't matter whether they're Buddhists or not. So really the word is not a non-Buddhist, but rather someone who's new to these sermons, to truth. Someone who's new to the truth. Matters not whether they're Buddhist or not. There are lots of Buddhists who live blindly. They come into this world in the time of the Buddha. They live in this world in the time of the Buddha, and they pass away from this world in the time of the Buddha, not knowing who the Buddha was, or not knowing what the Buddha was. So for their benefit, as much as those who have never heard of these sermons, or who might not even have heard who the Buddha was, matters not. If you would like to introduce these principles, the Dhamma, to fellow human beings, to others, your friends, to colleagues, then I'm prepared to help you with that. So it's not something I'm going to be doing forever. Certainly don't plan on. But as there has been a request, in the near future, we'll start that new program. So it will be the same time on a Sunday, but of course it will be recorded. So you will not listen to me live. It will be a recorded sermon, because to do the video will require a recording and sometimes editing to prepare it for an upload onto the internet. So that will require some time, which cannot be done on the fly. Certainly not to do it in the standard and the quality that we want it to be available to a newcomer. So that will happen in the very near future. Something I'll ask of you to get the best desired outcome from this new series of sermons is, let us know what sort of things you think would be interesting to someone who's new to the Dhamma. So, for instance, maybe you've tried to introduce the Dhamma to someone who's of a different faith. What are some of the questions that you came across that you struggled to find answers to? What are some of the common questions? What are the frequently asked questions? What sort of things pique their interest? What sort of things might be a good hook for them to be introduced to Dhamma? What sort of topics do you think might interest them? You can let us know what you think the requirement is. That is not to say that I'll be talking about all of those topics, but it will help me get a sense for what sort of challenges you face when you have to introduce these sermons, the Dhamma, to others. And if I'm aware of these challenges, if I know what sort of topics, so for instance, some people might ask you, what is Buddhism? Maybe that is the first question that you get asked. What is Buddhism and how is it different from other religions? Perhaps that is what they ask. Is Buddhism going to help me? How can Buddhism help me to find happiness? Why should I be interested in Buddhism? Maybe some of the questions that you get asked. As I said, it's not to say that I'll be covering all those topics, because the intention is not to entertain. I hope you will appreciate that, because my job is not that of an entertainer. I gave that up about 4 years ago. My job is not an entertainer, but that of an enlightener. That is my duty. That is my task. My job is to enlighten, not entertain. And I'm sure that is what you want as well. So there will be some topics in the ones that you put forward which will be interesting, but perhaps not something that will be essential for someone to be introduced to the Dhamma. So you must leave me the privilege to pick and choose which topics get delivered through a sermon, but I would like you to let me know what you think would be good material for someone who's interested to get someone interested in the Dhamma. I ask you this because you are the ones who will have come across these challenges most of the time. Because usually when someone comes to the monastery, they already have some interest in the Dhamma. Someone comes to me to ask to listen to a sermon. Oftentimes you have brought along with you people to sermons, and at least they're there because they're interested in the Dhamma. What does Buddhism have to say? And then, because I'm in their presence or they're in my presence, whatever merit they have done, through those merits, then what is essential or necessary for them starts to flow through the Dhamma, through the sermons. But now we are targeting a global population, and it's difficult for me to even imagine who's going to be listening to these sermons. So that is why I ask for your ideas, your thoughts on this matter. Let me know what topics you have had to discuss or share with others, particularly as you try to introduce the Dhamma to them. So that will be all worthwhile for us to consider when we plan this series of sermons. So that's coming very soon. May start next week. May start, might not. And those sermons will be video recordings that will get posted at the same time on a Sunday, usual time. That'll be 2 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, Sri Lanka time, and will obviously remain on our normal YouTube channel, on the Jethanarama Buddhist Monastery channel, so that you can watch them leisurely as well. And you can share those links out with the people that you'd like to introduce the Dhamma to. Okay? So I reiterate, the reason I'm doing this is not because you want to see me. I'm not here to entertain, but the reason I'm doing this is because you want to do your service to others. And that purpose is truly praiseworthy. Hats off for those of you who have had that thought and who've had that intention, who feel that is something that they want to do during their life on this earth, to introduce the Dhamma to others, as many other people as possible. So once we start producing those sermons, then of course there'll be those of you who will be linked into other communities, and you can of course share them out with those people and get as many people interested in the Dhamma, so that they also find the path to achieving ultimate happiness. Okay, so on that note then, we will conclude today's sermon. And before we conclude, let us take a moment to transfer the merits and bring the sermon to a close. Before I forget, so these sermons, as I said, they'll only be about an hour or hour and a half long. So you may be able to organize your Sunday afternoons accordingly. And I think the best time to do this also is while we have the pandemic ongoing, because when you normally visit the monastery, you travel to the monastery for about 2 hours. So to be doing an hour sermon when you've spent 2 hours getting here is probably not doing justice. So these sermons will be very precise to a very specific audience, but of course our regular listeners can also benefit, I'm sure. Especially to go back to the basics, go back to the fundamentals and revisit them. And to also help members of your family and friends to get into the path. And one last thing. So as I want to keep these sermons within the hour, and at most 1.5 hours, then much of the customary, the traditional things that we do at the start of the sermon I'll probably avoid. So we'll probably start by making veneration to the Lord Buddha, and then we'll go straight from there into the sermon. So some of the other parts that we normally do, like the stanzas and inviting the devas and so on, we'll probably leave out, as I feel that they may not be of a great deal of interest, especially to newcomers. And if that's what you get to hear right at the start of the sermon, then it may be that they will not find that all that interesting. So all of this we do with the best intentions, and that is to help as many people find true happiness in their lives. So let's, obviously open and willing to new ideas, and let's do the best we can, see what happens. All we can do is try. The rest, you got to leave to people's merit. All we can do is try. Okay, then, let's take a moment to transfer the merits that we have all acquired by making offerings to the infinite virtues of the Noble Triple Gem, chanting Pirit, listening to the Dhamma, and engaging in various meritorious deeds today. First and foremost, let us remind ourselves how incredibly fortunate we are to be in receipt of the Lord Buddha's teaching, and with immense gratitude, let us transfer these merits to the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, upasakas and upasikas, who since time immemorial have protected and preserved the sublime teachings of the Buddha and passed it down to the generations of the noble lineage in the form of the Tripitaka, which is thankfully available to us today to study, understand, and comprehend the Dhamma. Let us also transfer the merits we have acquired to all members of the Mahasangha present throughout the world, including the chief prelates of all of the chapters, who have dedicated their lives to the noble path and have committed themselves towards the betterment of all sentient beings. Let us not forget that among them are the monks and nuns resident in your local temples and nunneries, who have always been by your side through thick and thin, come rain or shine. Let us also transfer these merits to Guru Swami Mahansa and all other monks resident at this monastery, as well as the Anagarikas and Anagarikas attached to the monastery. Let us also take a moment to transfer these merits and express our gratitude to those who make great efforts to disseminate the teachings of the Buddha, be that by transliterating these sermons, sharing them out with others, or inviting others to join them. May, through the power of these merits, if any of them have been born in the woeful plane, redeem themselves and be born in the blissful plane, and may, through the power of these merits, they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also transfer the merits we have acquired today to our devotees and friends of the monastery, who for the sake of merits continue to sustain the Mahasangha. This includes everyone from those of you who have contributed to the construction of the monastery, to those of you who provide the Mahasangha with shelter, arms, robes, and medicines, as well as those of you who have passed on their know-how and continue to extend their well wishes. May, through the power of these merits, they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer merits to our mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, nephews and nieces, our elders, friends and acquaintances, employers and employees, and to all those who have helped us, supported us, assisted us in any way, shape or form. By the power of these merits, may they be healed of any physical and mental ailments and overcome any obstacles to their spiritual progress. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer merits to the Devas and Brahmas, spirits and demons, primarily the Sakadeva, as well as all the numerous gods and deities who are committed to protect and fulfill the Samudra Shasana. Let us also transfer merits to our guardian deities who keep a watchful eye over us and keep us out of harm's way. And may, through the power of these merits, they prosper in divine power and wisdom. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer merits to our ancestors who have predeceased us, to all those who have been our families, friends, and acquaintances in this infinitely long journey in samsara, and to those who have helped us, supported us, assisted us in every way they could. Let us transfer these merits to them. Let us also transfer these merits to the members of the armed forces as well as the police force who have sacrificed their lives to protect the peace and harmony of our nation. May all who have lost their lives in the war, be their friend or foe, rejoice in the merits that we have acquired today. Let us also transfer merits to those who have lost their lives in natural calamities such as tsunamis and earthquakes, landslides and pandemics, including the most recent and prevailing one, reminding ourselves that among them will be those who have been friends and family to us in this long journey in samsara. Let us take a moment to transfer merits to them. And may, through the power of these merits, if any of them have been born in the woeful plains, redeem themselves and be born in the blissful plane, may they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, let us all resolve that may, through the power and blessings of all the merits we have acquired throughout the day, we be able to witness the advent of many hundreds of thousands of Arahatun Mahanses on this blessed land. And finally, may, through the power of all the merits we have acquired today, you and I and everyone who has helped make this program a success, become an Arahatun Mahanse or an Arahat Mehinin Mahanse in this very life, in the era of the Gautama Supreme Buddha itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And on that note, we will conclude today's sermon by the blessings of the Noble Triple.